The year was 1781, a pivotal moment in American history. Autumn winds whispered through the trees, carrying with them the hopes and fears of a nation at war. Leaves of red and gold began to fall, mirroring the bloodshed and sacrifices made on the battlefield. The American Revolution had raged for 6 long years, with countless battles fought and lives lost. People were weary of the endless conflict, their spirits worn thin by the constant struggle. Resources were stretched thin, almost to breaking, as the war drained the colony's reserves. Hope, a fragile bird, still flickered in many hearts, a beacon of light in the darkest of times. General George Washington felt the immense pressure of leadership, knowing the fate of the revolution rested on his shoulders. The weight of a young nation rested on his shoulders, and every decision he made could tip the balance. He knew the American cause needed a great victory, a decisive moment to turn the tide of war. In Virginia, Lord Cornwallis commanded the British forces, a seasoned general with years of experience. He was confident in his army, believing their discipline and strength would secure victory. He had chosen Yorktown as his base of operations, fortifying it against any potential attacks. The atmosphere across the colonies was thick with tension, as everyone awaited the next move in this deadly game. The stakes could not have been higher for America, with the future of the nation hanging in the balance.
Sir, no, sir.
The war had started with defiant shots. Lexington and Concord echoed with bravery. Brave men stood firm at Bunker Hill. Then came the bold Declaration of Independence. A new nation declared its right to exist. The early years were a desperate struggle. The Continental Army faced terrible hardships. The bitter winter at Valley Forge tested every soul. Yet, the spirit of revolution endured, unbroken. The American victory at Saratoga was a turning point. It convinced France to formally enter the war. The French alliance was a true game-changer. It brought legitimacy to the American cause. More importantly, it brought money, troops, and ships. Lord Cornwallis had been fighting in the South. He decided to move his forces north. General Washington met with Comte de Rochambeau. Rochambeau led the French expeditionary force. The two commanders came from different worlds. Washington, the Virginia planter turned general. Rochambeau, an experienced aristocrat from France. Yet they shared a common objective: victory. Building trust took time and careful effort. Mutual respect grew between these dedicated leaders. They knew cooperation was essential for success. The Franco-American alliance began to truly solidify. Word came of Cornwallis fortifying Yorktown. Crucially, Admiral de Grasse's French fleet was sailing. It was heading for the Chesapeake Bay. The plan changed trapped Cornwallis in Virginia. The movement of the combined armies was a masterpiece. The fate of America hung in the balance. Section 4. The Chesapeake bottleneck. De Grasse seals the trap. Admiral de Grasse commanded a powerful French fleet, a force to be reckoned with on the high seas. He sailed north from the West Indies, navigating treacherous waters to control the Chesapeake Bay, a crucial strategic point. This maneuver was designed to prevent any British escape by sea, effectively sealing off their retreat. However, a British fleet soon appeared on the horizon, led by the determined Admiral Thomas Graves. The two formidable fleets clashed in early September in a battle that would determine the fate of the Chesapeake. Admiral de Grasse, with his exceptional naval tactics, maneuvered his ships skillfully, outflanking the British at every turn. Several British ships were badly damaged in the fierce combat, forcing Admiral Graves to make the difficult decision to withdraw. Meanwhile, General Cornwallis, entrenched at Yorktown, found himself increasingly isolated and now completely trapped. The sea, which had once been his lifeline, had now become an impenetrable barrier, cutting off any hope of escape or reinforcement. No supplies could reach him from the ocean, leaving his troops in a dire situation with dwindling resources. General Washington's intricate plan, which had been meticulously crafted, was now working perfectly, as if guided by fate. The final pieces of the strategic puzzle fell into place, each move calculated to ensure ultimate victory. The stage was now fully set for the final act, a decisive moment that would shape the future of the American Revolution. Section 5. The siege begins, digging in for victory. The Allied armies arrived before Yorktown, surrounding the British. Washington and Rochambeau began the siege methodically. Engineers surveyed the land, planning their approach. Soldiers grabbed shovels and picks, ready to work. Day and night the soldiers toiled tirelessly, digging trenches. French engineers guided the work, designing the fortifications. Soon the Allied artillery was in position. French and American cannons opened fire. A thunderous bombardment began, day after day. British soldiers huddled in their damaged redoubts. Cornwallis knew his time was running out quickly. Section 6. Storming the redoubts, courage under fire. Two key British defenses stood in the way, small fortified hills called redoubts. Capturing them was essential for the Allies. Washington and Rochambeau decided they must be taken. The assault was set for the night of October 14th. American troops were assigned to attack Redoubt Number 10. French soldiers were tasked with taking Redoubt Number 9. Young Colonel Alexander Hamilton led the Americans. His men charged forward through the darkness. They scrambled over sharpened logs and abatis. Hamilton and his soldiers fought with incredible valor. The Allied soldiers cheered their hard-won victories. Section 7. The world turned upside down, surrender, and a new dawn. Lord Cornwallis saw his position was hopeless. Surrounded by the combined forces of the American and French armies, his options were dwindling rapidly. His men were sick, exhausted, and demoralized. The relentless siege had taken a heavy toll on the British troops, who were now running low on supplies and morale. He made one last, desperate attempt to escape. Under the cover of darkness, Cornwallis ordered his men to cross the York River in small boats. But a sudden storm scattered his boats, foiling the plan. The tempestuous weather dashed any hopes of a successful retreat. On October 17th, he requested a parley to discuss surrender terms. The realization had set in that further resistance was futile. Negotiations took place over the next 2 days. The British would surrender. The terms were meticulously discussed, ensuring a formal and dignified capitulation. The ceremony was scheduled for October 19th. Preparations were made for this historic event, marking a turning point in the Revolutionary War. The British Army marched out from Yorktown. With heavy hearts, they laid down their arms in a formal surrender. Legend says their bands played a tune called "The World Turned Upside Down." This symbolic gesture underscored the dramatic shift in power. News of the surrender at Yorktown spread rapidly. Across the colonies, people celebrated the victory that seemed almost miraculous. In Britain, the news was a devastating blow. The loss at Yorktown signaled a significant shift in the war's momentum. The victory at Yorktown convinced Britain to negotiate. The British government began to seriously consider peace talks, realizing the war was unwinnable. The Battle of Yorktown was a testament to courage, showing the power of alliance and determination. It marked the beginning of the end of the Revolutionary War, paving the way for a new dawn of independence.